Welcome to Inside Athletic Training, a podcast from the Professional Baseball Athletic Trainer Society and the ultimate destination for athletic training professionals, students, and educators looking to learn more about sports medicine and athletic training. In each episode, we'll dive headfirst into conversations with experts in the field, bringing you insights, stories, and cutting-edge information about athletic training and sports medicine. This week on Inside Athletic Training, we welcome in Jeremy Heller, the Cleveland Guardians minor league medical coordinator. Enjoy the show. All right, Jeremy, welcome to Inside Athletic Training. Super excited to have you on for episode 47. You are the newly appointed minor league medical coordinator for the Cleveland Guardians with a very recent promotion. So first of all, congratulations to you. Before we get into the details about your current role with the Guardians, let's share with the listeners a bit more information about you and your background. So take us back to the very beginning stages for you. Where are you from? What kind of sports you're into growing up, and also how you found your passion for athletic training.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Kind of honored to have an opportunity to do this. I grew up in a small town in southern Illinois called Redbud. It's about 45 minutes from St. Louis. I always loved baseball growing up. I played baseball and football as a kid and all the way up through college, and enjoyed that and just had a passion for it. And I think that's kind of what led me towards athletic training. I just kind of always knew that at some point if I couldn't make it as a player, I wanted to be in baseball some way, shape, or form. So that's kind of where I stumbled upon athletic training and have loved it ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely a great way to stay in the game. A lot of your colleagues across the league have mentioned the same thing. You know, we all our dreams of becoming a pro baseball player end for the majority of us earlier than later. So it's cool to see, so many of you guys getting in the game through athletic training. Let's talk a bit about your career. Before your career of getting into professional baseball, we know how important the educational foundation is for an athletic trainer. Let's hear more about your college experiences. I know you attended Millikan University for your bachelor's degree, also got your master's from Tennessee Tech University. What were those experiences like, and what were some of those key takeaways from your educational experiences?
Yeah, so Millikan University is a small Division III school in central Illinois. I got a triple emphasis there, all underneath the exercise science department of athletic training, sports management, and fitness and sports. So kind of a umbrella triple degree there, and really enjoyed my time. Had the opportunity to, with it being a small school, we had the opportunity to be a little bit more hands-on with our athletes and being more involved with the sports that we were covering. And it wasn't just, filling coolers or field setup. So I felt very fortunate to have the opportunity that I did at Millikan. It really kind of laid the groundwork for my future career. And then went on to Tennessee Tech and I got my master's there in instructional leadership, and I covered football and track and cross country there. And it's a little bit different because I was at a little bit bigger school, being a Division I school, and I was a graduate assistant. So I had the responsibility of covering my own sports along with helping out with football. So it gave me a little bit more of that real world experience that I kind of needed before I got into a real job. So I really enjoyed my opportunities at both of those places, and I took away a lot from those experiences, and it just allowed me to kind of further my career once I finished up with my degrees.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting point in terms of the real world experience. There's so much information out there. We hear from your colleagues across the league so much about, you can learn the anatomy, you can learn in the textbook, but eventually need to get hands-on experience. Is that something that you would recommend athletic training students coming up really focus on and try and get that real world experience so they kind of know a little bit how things work in the real world versus just in a textbook?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so important. Being able to apply what you know goes so far. And, it's great if you can pass the exam or pass the tests or all the proficiencies that you need, but you have to be able to apply it when you're actually on the field and you have an injured athlete or you are trying to rehab somebody, and you have to be able to apply what you know. And I think every opportunity you can get to get some of that hands-on experience, real world experience, goes so far into building your educational background and your career background.
hmm And you mentioned earlier that you worked a number of different sports in college. Is that something that you look fondly back on, or would you rather have kind of specialized in baseball? I know a lot of athletic trainers I speak to really do enjoy the aspect of working different sports, learning different parts of the body because all the injuries are so different in different sports. What was your take on kind of working, football, track and field, anything but baseball, and then kind of landing in baseball?
Yeah, so I would agree. I think it's good to have the ability to work all those different sports. One, because it allows you to determine, what maybe you want to do for a career path.
hmm
And two, like like you said, it gives you an opportunity to experience, different injuries. As we all know, football is so physical, and you have so many acute, like sometimes, hopefully not, but sometimes catastrophic injuries. So that's a little
Sure.
bit different, than what you experience in baseball or some of these other sports. So I think the more opportunities you have to cover more sports, it goes a long way in just allowing you to have a better knowledge and a better ability to see what else is out there. And in doing that, it allows you to determine, like, okay, now I know this is the sport that I want to work. And that's kind of how it was for me. I played football in undergrad, so I didn't work football in undergrad. So I had that opportunity in grad school, which was great for me to see the other side of it. And then, working cross country and track allowed me to realize that that's probably not the sports that I wanted to cover in the future. Nothing against anybody that does it or works those sports or participates in them, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. So it was good to have that experience and see, how those athletes work and go about their ways.
And looking back on those days when you were kind of finding your way, figuring out what you like, what you don't like in athletic training, were there any specific role models, whether that's in college or the early professional days, who really showed you how things work, what you're gonna like, and really just showed you the way of athletic training?
Yeah. So at my undergrad, we had, some great clinical instructors that did a really good job of just like not only teaching us, but just, helping us grow as professionals and learning the way of going about, being a future athletic trainer. So that was like a great starting point for me. And then early on in my baseball career, when I was first hired, Lee Kuntz was our medical coordinator, and Teddy Blackwell, who you've had Jake Legan on, and I know he's mentioned Teddy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys were just like a huge part in my early career once I started with the Indians, of just kind of like guiding me on how to be a professional and how to go about my business as a professional baseball athletic trainer. And I was so fortunate to spend, a couple of extended spring trainings with those guys and learn from them. And then at that same time, our upper level athletic trainers were Jeff Desjardins and Todd Tomzak in Double A and Triple A. And they kind of like took me under their wing and just like really helped me like work through, what is expected in our organization and like what is expected as a professional baseball athletic trainer. So it was really good to like have those guys kind of help me and guide me along the way. And then Chad Wolf was always the next level ahead of me. So as he would get promoted, then I would be right behind him, and he would be telling me, okay, this is what I did at this level. This is the things that you need to know. Here's some things you need to know about the cities that you go to. And he was really great and like helping me like in that immediate aspect of like what to expect and what to know at each level that I went to. So it was good to have like all of those people involved in my early career to kind of guide me to where I needed to be.
Yeah, really interesting to hear you talk about Chad and him being a bit ahead of you, and even the little things about where you go to for something in the city you've never been to. I think that stuff's probably super underrated in terms of like becoming a true professional. And from Lee
Mm-hmm.
Kuntz to Todd Tomzik to Jeff Desjardins, I mean, you can't really have a better group of men to guide you into the profession. For anyone that knows those guys, just awesome group of guys, super talented. Well, shifting gears a bit to get into your career, but I think one of the most interesting things I find about each individual we've had on the podcast is kind of the different paths that have led you to where you are today. So, minor league medical coordinator for the Guardians right now. Super excited to get into that later. But take us back to the
Mm-hmm.
early days of pro ball for you. So you started with an instructional league job for the Guardians, back then the Indians. In 2005, you've been with the club ever since. Tell us the story about how you broke into the game. I know a lot of our listeners are, looking to get their first internship or get established in the game. So how did it go for you getting into the game?
Yeah. So during Christmas break, when I was at Tennessee Tech, my last year at Tech, I sent out like a resume and cover letter to every team in Major League Baseball and every team in the NFL. I was just hoping for an opportunity somewhere, whether that's an internship or just anything, And I was so fortunate that at the time, the Indians were hiring, and they kind of brought me down to Winter Haven at the time for an interview. Went through the interview process, and I was lucky enough to actually get a job and not just an internship. And Tennessee Tech was gracious enough to allow me to finish my degree early, so I could leave during spring training and get down to Winter Haven to kind of start everything out. So everything just kind of right place, right time fell into place. And I was very, very lucky and very fortunate to kind of start out that early on. And then got to spring training about mid-March. So I was a little late getting there. And like I mentioned before, I was there all the way through extended spring training. And that's where, I was with Teddy and Lee early on, and they kind of guided me. And then I spent that first season in 2005 in Mahoning Valley. And then I was there for 2 years. So I was, like I said, I couldn't have been luckier at the time. I was hoping for just an internship, and, somehow, some way I ended up getting a job, and, been here ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned Mahoning Valley. So that was your first year kind of on your own, experiencing life as a head athletic trainer for a minor league affiliate. Was that job, did you feel prepared? Did you feel overwhelmed? What were those feelings when you kind of walked into the training room, the first day and it was all yours? What kind of experience was that like for you?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both, a little bit prepared and a little bit overwhelmed. I think no matter how much you know or how much you think being on your own at an affiliate is very challenging and very exciting. And no matter how prepared you are, things just happen fast, and you have to be able to think on your feet and react and go whenever something's coming at you. You have to figure it out, as best you can. Luckily, I had some great people to help me out, as I mentioned before, and they kind of guided me along the way, and I had some great coaching staffs that understood that I was a young athletic trainer and I was new to this, and they were all a little bit older and had been in the game for a long time. So it really helped me. My first manager was Ruggles Odor, who's been in our organization. He played for us and then worked his way up as a staff member. Now he's part of our major league staff. And Tony Arnold was my first pitching coach. And I mean, those guys, they were so huge in guiding me just on like how to work as an athletic trainer and affiliate. So I feel very fortunate. I've had some great people along the way to kind of guide me and help me out.
Yeah. And in terms of those people guiding you, one thing that you kind of need some forgiveness from is mistakes you make at the lower levels in the minor leagues as a first-time athletic trainer. Is that something that you found super beneficial, was to be able to kind of work through things in real time in a real, athletic training experience in pro ball and kind of make those mistakes at kind of like a lower risk, as you might say, type of environment?
Yeah. I mean, I think early on, you're always going to make mistakes, and, or even if it's not maybe a mistake, but you do things that as you reflect back, you wish you could have done it different or better. And I think it's important to learn from those situations and not let them happen twice. So I think if you're always putting the player first and you truly care about the player and guiding them, hopefully it avoids any major mistakes. But things always happen. And I think, looking back on my career, there's always things that I wish I could have done better or maybe different. But I think it's good to learn from those early on and then have those people that can be sounding boards for you, or, guide you like, hey, this is maybe how you should have handled it instead of doing this, and giving you positive or giving you the feedback that you need to continue to grow and improve and get better.
And after those stops, at Mahoning Valley specifically, you made a bunch of more stops along the way, the Guardians minor league program. So Lake County, Kingston, Carolina, Akron, a lot of different places for the past couple of years. Talk about your ride through the minor leagues. I know being with one club, there's probably so many benefits. You learn how the organization works, get to meet people like Lonnie Soloff, who we'll get into in a bit here, and just kind of know the organization and feel comfortable. Talk about your ride through the minor leagues with one organization and how that kind of has benefited you and shaped you as an athletic trainer.
Yeah. Each level comes with different challenges and different variables. And I think you have to kind of grow and adapt and change along the way. At the lower levels, the players that you're working with are trying to establish good programs and routines, and you're trying to help and guide them and help them stay healthy and on the field. And as they get older, and when you get to the upper levels, it's more about refining those routines for those players and helping them just remain healthy. And then, AAA is just a completely different world and a different animal in itself. And, these are all guys that, they're all different spectrums of their career, from the veteran guy that's kind of been in the big leagues for a while and is just trying to still stick around, to the young guys that's kind of up and coming. And they all have that same goal of getting to that one more step to the big leagues. And your job is to kind of help them refine their things that they're doing with you in the training room, and get them to where they need to be. And I think I've been very fortunate that I've been able to be in one organization and kind of go along the way. And I've had some, great, you mentioned Lonnie and some of the other guys that have been in our organization that have helped me along the way. And each level has its challenge, but each level is fun and exciting as well. And every time you have an opportunity to go to that next step, it's cool to see the new cities and ballparks and just learn to work with different players or different staff members. So it's been a great ride so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you talked about helping those players in your care and the Guardians organization get to that next step and that next level within the game of baseball. The same goes for you all as athletic trainers. I assume the majority of you guys aspire to get to the big leagues and be an athletic trainer in Major League Baseball. When you're working your way through the minor leagues, much like players, how do you go about staying present in that moment, since obviously there is something else you're working toward?
Yeah, I think. So early on, it might have been my first or second year. Eric Wedge was the major league manager at the time, and he used to come down and give a speech and kind of was like the state of the organization. And one thing that he said that kind of resonated with me was, he's like, it doesn't matter where you're at, whether it's rookie ball or AAA or the big leagues or whatever, you have to treat that specific place as your big leagues. And it really made a lot of sense, because it's like, no matter where I'm at along the way, if I go about it as like, this is how I would do it if I was in Cleveland, then hopefully I'm going to go about my business the right way and handle myself the way I should to, prepare myself for that major league job someday when that comes. And I think it's different for everybody. I think everybody wants to be in the big leagues right away. And it's challenging when you're not there. But I think if you keep that mindset of like, no matter what, if I go about my business the right way, the right things will happen as my career goes on.
Mm-hmm. And one of those guys who I think has done a lot of things right in the Guardians organization is Lonnie Soloff. And I mentioned Lonnie earlier. Can't talk to anyone within the organization without mentioning him and the job he's done in Cleveland. So Lonnie's the leader of your athletic training, sports medicine staff, a hugely impactful member of PBATS. I'm wondering what it's been like to get to work alongside someone like Lonnie, just a consummate professional and obviously, one of the hardest working guys in athletic training.
Yeah, it's been great. And I mean, he's created a culture for us and just in a way of like, for us to all kind of feed off of each other and learn from each other. And it starts with him. And it's been great to have him around and guide us. And, just the way that he thinks through his, whatever the case may be, if there's an injury or, from the top down or, it's really impressive hearing him break down a evaluation or an injury. And it's been great to learn from him and work with him over the years. And, he's one of the smartest people I've ever known. And it's really, really cool to have somebody like that in our organization and somebody to learn from and work with.
Mm-hmm. And you'll be seeing Lonnie and all the guys and women down in Arizona, I believe, in a couple weeks for spring training. As you get ready for that, and you kind of end your off season, how do you go about mentally preparing for another season? I know we'll get into a bit about your new role with the club, but in the past, what's been your kind of strategy for gearing up for another year?
Yeah, I think this time of year, late January, early to late January, I start getting things ready for the season in terms of like looking over my inventories and, making sure I need to know what I need to order and getting things ready just from that standpoint. And then, trying to shore up everything at home, from a family standpoint, make sure that, any of the little last minute things I need to do around the house or with my family is taken care of. And then just trying to get as much rest as possible, because once spring training rolls around, it's long days and short nights. And it's just a matter of, trying to get ready and prepared mentally the best you can to get ready for those days.
And now that you've been with the Guardians organization for so long, you kind of have an idea of how spring training is going to go. But I'm wondering how it works when you guys get there and there's so much going on, chaos, just at the beginning of spring training. How do you guys go about working together, from people in the big leagues all the way down to rookie ball and the Dominican? What's the most important thing in terms of getting on the same page and kind of having a smooth program once you get to spring training?
Yeah, that's one thing, we talked about Lonnie a little bit. I think one thing that our major league staff and Lonnie included, they've done such a great job of allowing all of us to feel like we are together. There's no separation between major league and minor league. They have incorporated all of us on the minor league side and allowed us to kind of see how they work and how they operate. And, we're all kind of in this together. And I think it's important it doesn't matter how long you've been here or what level you're at or anything like that. Like, we're all trying to get to the same goal and the same thing. So, whether that's setting up the field or doing some sort of, paperwork or documentation, like it doesn't matter, and I think that's the one thing that's really good about our organization is like, there's none of that like hierarchy type of thing. Obviously we all have a ton of respect for our major league staff and we all look up to them, but they do such a great job of just allowing all of us to kind of, see how they operate, and they set such a great example for us that it's really cool to learn from them and be part of that.
And this year specifically, something I'm super excited to talk to you about is a little role change for you. So you were recently promoted from the AAA athletic trainer in Columbus for the Guardians to the minor league medical coordinator, which is just a huge role. Everyone that listens to the podcast knows how important this role is within any organization, athletic training and sports medicine staff. So things will be a bit different for you this year. It's super exciting, obviously. So talk about that news, when you got the news, and just how important that is to progress and what that meant to you to get this new promotion within the organization.
Yeah, it's really exciting for me. It's a new opportunity, a new challenge within my career. It's something I'm really looking forward to learning and growing in this role. I'll be working directly with Jeremy Harris, who's our minor league medical director, and working more along with Lonnie, our major league, medical director, and just trying to really improve upon my skill set and my abilities. And it's great because I'll have the ability to be at home with my family during the season, which for everybody that's an athletic trainer in baseball, they know how challenging that can be. So having an opportunity to kind of be at home a little bit more and still go to all of our affiliates. The great thing about our organization is our affiliates are all so close to Cleveland that I can travel easily to just about all of our affiliates minus Lynchburg or Arizona. Within, a couple hours, I'm there and I'm able to help out any way I can. So I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. And now that I've had the ability to work as an athletic trainer at every affiliate and every level, this is just one more avenue I have within my career. And kind of like, now I feel like I can say that I've done just about everything I could from a minor league standpoint to prepare myself for hopefully someday a major league role.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that was one thing I was going to kind of touch on is you've been with the organization since 2005, from fall instructional league all the way up to AAA. Talk about how knowing the affiliates so well is just going to be a huge advantage and benefit to you as the coordinator.
Yeah, so it'll allow me to speak directly to that affiliate athletic trainer about maybe understanding what they're going through in any situation, and help them, guide them through whatever they may have in terms of questions or difficulties or challenges that come up during the course of the season. And hopefully I can impart some of the knowledge or experience that I have on our younger athletic trainers and kind of help guide them and help them through their careers. So I'm really looking forward to that leadership and mentorship type of role within this coordinator position. That I think that's going to be the biggest part for me, is just trying to really help our young athletic trainers and help them through their careers as well.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that, is very impressive about you, and obviously you talk about development within the minor league athletic trainers, is, the continuing education that you have and your passion about learning new skills. Is that something that you see as extremely important within the profession, and something you'll kind of share with the minor league affiliates that you work with, is just continuing to develop and just work on new skills? And, athletic training as a profession is changing so much year over year, and just showcasing how important it is for people to continue to learn and develop in their current position.
Yeah. So, one thing that I've been very fortunate, or all of us really, with our organization is really fortunate about, is during our winter internal medical meetings, we usually have some sort of continuing education component along with it. And it's really helped me and the rest of our athletic trainers grow our skill sets. And I think it's so important to have that, whether that's, searching out new certifications or just different courses that are out there. There's so much that's available to you. And I think it's important to continue to try and learn. And, we've all been to continuing education courses, and some are better than others. But I think if you can always take something away from those types of courses, it's going to help you. And most importantly, it's going to help your athletes as you learn new techniques and new tricks and have new tools for your toolbox. It's going to allow you to handle any sort of injury or rehab or case that you may have. And maybe you just pull that one thing out that you learned at a course, and it's like, man, that's the difference between a guy playing tonight or not. And I think that goes a long way, especially as you get to the upper levels. Like, if you talk about AAA, if a guy's available and he's able to play and he's able to stay on the field, that not only helps your AAA team, but that could impact your major league team as well. And I think it's important to try and, have all of those skill sets that you can and all those opportunities you can to learn and grow, and it ultimately helps your players.
Mm-hmm. And to wrap things up, I know this year is going to be such an exciting time for you with new experiences in this new role as minor league medical coordinator. When you look back at, let's say 2005, you're at Fall Instructional League as an athletic trainer, kind of getting your feet wet, trying to figure things out. Has the ride and the journey within the Guardians organization been what you expected it to be? Has it been much different? Share a bit about how you feel when you reflect back on those early days.
Yeah. I think it's been I've been so fortunate and so lucky. There's been so many people that have impacted me and my career. And I think it has been what I've expected it to be, but I've just been very lucky to be surrounded by all the people that I have, and have such a, great, support, system around me. And I don't think I guess I never expected to maybe be around as long as I have. You never really know, right? Like,
sure. You
never know what could happen, but I couldn't be happier, that's for sure. And I do feel very fortunate and very lucky to be in the situation I am and in the organization I am. And I think I've had a good ride so far, and hopefully it continues for a long future.
Yeah, definitely more to come for you. That's absolutely certain. Well, Jeremy, this has been great. You shared so much quality information that students and young professionals can take forward. To wrap up today's show, we're going to finish with a quick Q&A segment called Extra Bases. So I'll ask you 4 quick questions and let you share some insight into some of your favorite things about athletic training in baseball. So we'll start off at first base. You've obviously, as we talked about, made a handful of stops within the minor leagues and within the Guardians organization. Along the way, do you have a favorite athletic training room that you worked in?
Yeah, so I think Columbus has probably been my favorite one. It's a newer stadium, so I think it's built in 2009 maybe. And when they built it, they did a great job. And the training room and the whole setup, the office, it's really nice. As a minor league athletic trainer, it doesn't get much better than that. And then on the road, Buffalo is like they redid that stadium during COVID for the major league team to use, and that visiting training room and visiting side is like a major league setup. So it's really cool to be there and see that, and they did a really good job when they redid everything in Buffalo. So those would probably be my two favorites.
And moving on to second base, you mentioned you guys get to do so much fun traveling and see different places, but you're actually in the dugout, which very few can say for the actual game. Do you have a favorite stadium to watch a game from the dugout?
Yeah, so kind of along those same lines, Columbus does such a good job of getting fans in. I mean, we have 8,000 to 10,000 fans almost every single night, and it's a pretty cool dugout to be in. And so that's my favorite home one. And then on the road, Indianapolis. I think that's a really cool stadium. Charlotte's another good one, another good stadium to be in. And I like both of those places a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about the Columbus and Charlotte environment, so nothing to argue with you there. On that same note, with the travels, you said going from different league to league in the minor league system, you get to see so many different cities that a lot of us probably would never get to. So, do you have a favorite city that you visit on the road over your time with the Guardians?
Yeah, I think Indianapolis. That's one that prior to being in AAA, I had only really driven through. I never spent any time in Indy, and now that being close to Columbus, that's one that we go to a lot on the road. And I mean, it's such a clean city and safe, and there's so much to do in that downtown area, and the ballpark's right there downtown. So I think Indy's probably one of my favorite ones that we go to for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people around the baseball community would say that's kind of an underrated city there in the Midwest. Moving on to home plate, final question for today, and this might happen this year. There's a lot of experience that are still to come for you, but throughout your career, when you're getting into baseball and when you finally broke in, did you have a welcome to professional baseball moment at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe not. I don't know if you could say welcome, but it was an eye-opening thing. I think doing laundry on the road. So you always hear these stories of like, you as the athletic trainer at the lower levels, especially early in your career, you have to do random stuff. And we were in Aberdeen, and the hotel was supposed to do our laundry, and we arrive and they're like, we don't do that here. And luckily, Patrick Wesley, who is now in the big leagues with the Orioles, was the athletic trainer there. And I called him. I'm like, hey, can you help me out here? And he's like, yeah, I'll go and open up the home side for you. So he opened up the clubhouse for me, and I did my the team laundry there. And we sat there and talked and just kind of got to know each other. And that was, early, my first year. And we've continued our relationship since then, but it was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. Like, you don't expect as an athletic trainer to have to do laundry all the time or, whatever. And that was a pretty eye-opening experience. And then similar situation happened in Oneonta that same year. The hotel did do our laundry, but they took everything off the loops, and they said, hey, we helped you out. We took all the stuff off those loops for you, so you didn't have to mess with it. So I had 30 or whatever players coming to my hotel room with piles of clothes everywhere, trying to figure out who had what. So that was definitely an eye-opening experience dealing with that.
Yeah, anyone that's played sports even through college or professionally knows that the loops are super important. You got to keep your stuff on there if you want to get yours back. So that's super super funny to hear, and you hear that from a lot of athletic trainers in minor league baseball that there's stuff you do at the lower levels, like booking travel, grabbing food. There's a lot of other stuff that kind of you earn your stripes that way. So it's cool to hear you echo that statement. Well, Jeremy, we really appreciate you joining the show today, and appreciate your time and dedication to PBATS and the profession of athletic training. And we wish you and the staff in Cleveland nothing but the best throughout this coming year. Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, it's an honor to do this. And there's been so many other great athletic trainers that have done this ahead of me. So it's great to be part of that group. So thanks for having me. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Inside Athletic Training. We hope you've gained valuable insights, inspiration, and knowledge to fuel your athletic training journey. If you enjoyed today's show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite platform. And also, stay connected with us on pbats.com for more news about athletic training and sports medicine.